Hello and welcome to Earth Calling. We're your hosts, Ed and Lazlo. Every week we bring you a fresh slice of online content, sorting through the likes, the memes, the insta-Queens, the swipes, the scrolls, and the Twitter trolls. Together, we're laying down our 21st century digital legacy. So sit back, relax, and buckle in. This is Earth Calling.
Hello and welcome back, Earth Callers, to your favourite podcast, Earth Calling. It is, I believe, episode 23 today, which is quite remarkable because it feels like we started doing this yesterday, Ed.
A real milestone, yeah, I think. When did we
Wait,
kick
hang
this
on.
off?
It's not a milestone. Episode 23 is not a milestone. Episode 23 is, nobody has, their big birthday blowout on the 23rd birthday.
The big 2-3. What will be, okay, 25 will be a big one in a couple of weeks' time. Maybe I'll put a mental note in, so we'll celebrate the quarter century.
Silver Jubilee episode.
Silver Jubilee, yeah.
Indeed. And for this very big occasion, being our 23rd episode, we decided to take on a similar size theme. Nothing too, beyond budget. We're going to talk about emojis this episode and the world that is these little pictorial characters.
I would also add that the reason that we're taking on the subject of emojis is because we did an Instagram poll, and in fact our audience overwhelmingly thought that yes, we should do an episode on emojis. So thank you to those of you who've suggested this, and to those of you who voted no. I think there were 3 of you. You know who you are, and I'm sorry. You can leave the room now.
And a polite reminder, of course, to those who voted against emojis that, as with any democracy, there will be decisions that you simply do not like. But we really appreciate you tuning in for your least favourite topic so far. Ed, maybe you can tell these disenchanted listeners how emojis came about.
Why they should hang around, and we remind them that this is an autocracy, although actually this was a democratic decision, but Earth Calling isn't,
Yes.
we do what we want.
Yep.
We answer to no one. We have no sponsors, although we'd love some. And we do what we want. So,
well, Ed, I'm sorry, but a surprise sponsor might just pop up in the course of this episode. You never know with Earth Calling. We like to reveal them quite spontaneously.
We thank Aubergine Emoji for sponsoring this week's episode. But here we go. Let's dive into it. So the founding story time with Ed. Story time with Ed.
Very good. He's taken on the feedback about branding his segments.
Yes. We need to brand our segments. And so this is Storytime with Edward. So, in the beginning was the word. No, in the beginning, actually that works quite well for this.
That was very nice.
In the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God. No, extremely niche reference for anyone who is of the Christian faith. I
don't think it's that niche for people of the Christian faith. I think it's pretty well known for the people of the Christian faith.
Okay, well, in the beginning was the word, but in the beginning, in the case of emojis, was Japan. And we weren't in Silicon Valley for this one. This was back in the day when Japan was a tech leader, and unfortunately, we won't go into the details, but many would argue that Japan has, to some extent, lost its technological preeminence. But again, not to get too controversial. So emojis were first pioneered in Tokyo in the 1990s, where they were part of many chat room conversations. And you could basically do a little colon and a bracket to do a smiley face or an unhappy face. We're all familiar. You could do a winky face if you did a semicolon. Cheeky. And in 1999, a Japanese artist called Shigetaka Kurita, sorry, I've probably butchered that, worked on developing the early graphics for emojis. And he wanted to design an attractive interface to convey information in a simple and succinct way. So he actually started out with weather, which is actually what we all love in the UK, and perhaps it's a trope in Japan as well. So cloudy, I think, was the first emoji. He sketched out a cloud that had rain coming out of it. So they began to be used in emails by people, and what I didn't realise, and this is again going into the weeds as we sometimes do on Earth Calling, was that there were many different ways of expressing these emojis until something called Unicode came along. And essentially Unicode is a language that computers share across the world in order to express similar things that are important. And so what that basically means is that a Mac computer in Turkey will be able to talk to a Windows computer in South America, and they will both understand what they're talking about. And so Emoji, in order to reach preeminence and world domination, decided to propose a set of characters and symbols to Unicode in 2010. And this would basically mean that you could have the same emojis for everyone all over the world, irrespective of Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, etc. And Unicode, which is a not-for-profit, accepted the proposal in 2010 and decided to index emojis because their use as characters for text messaging was essential to people's communication. And so it had become too popular to ignore, and that's kind of how we got to where we are today. And the original meaning of emoji is actually from the Japanese, Lazlo, which I didn't know. Are you familiar with what emoji actually means?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people actually think that it has something to do with emotion or something like emoticons, for example, but that's actually very much not the case. I think emoji means image, and e means picture, right? And something like that. Picture
picture image, yeah, great.
wait, hang on a second.
No, I can see you Googling it. No, I've got it here and I'm going to explain it. Stop cheating.
It.
Yeah. So, no, you're quite right. And I always thought that it was something to do with emotion, emoticon, emoji. Actually, you're right, though. It's from the Japanese, and it comes from the Japanese it, meaning picture, and moji, meaning character. And so, itmoji. Again, sorry to our Japanese listeners, because I probably haven't quite pronounced that correctly.
Yeah,
but
I mean, last week it was sorry to our Dutch listeners. This week it's sorry to our Japanese. God knows what it's going to be next episode.
Slowly alienating all of our audience. But emoji
apart from aliens, hopefully.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But emoji essentially means pictograph, and is that combination of Japanese words. And they have subsequently rocketed to preeminence, and we all use them nowadays. And Unicode has allowed everyone to use the same things, because imagine if people didn't know exactly what image they meant when they wanted to do laughing crying face. And what I learnt in reading about all this was that Unicode each year actually allows people to pitch emojis, right? So each year they have a bit of a sort of conference where people can submit, and anyone can submit an emoji for approval. And in submitting your emoji, you have to include what it looks like, what you want it to do, what kind of context it should be used in, and then you just send it off. And if they think it's got legs, then they will approve it.
I see. So if you have an idea for a subtle human emotion that you think is not currently covered by the emoji dictionary,
exactly.
You can just do you just send them a selfie of yourself kind of going
oh, yeah, well, for anyone
guys,
listening,
I know you've got the kind of rolling head with the tongue out, but I'm thinking that, you could incorporate an eyebrow raise with the kind of the left nostril flaring, so kind of...
What does that signify, though? That signifies that you, I don't know...
Hungry.
Or a bit slow. Okay, no.
Yeah.
No, but I think maybe we should actually submit an emoji for approval this year. Maybe you could design one. What kind of complex human emotions could we try and convey? So actually... There's a wonderful word which is called Sonder. Do you know what emotion that is, or what feeling that conveys?
No, I do not.
So Sonder is the feeling you get when you are walking through a crowded place in a large city and you realise that every single person around you has a life equally intricate and as complex as you do.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what kind of what the image would be.
No, but that's a classic.
Yeah, again, nobody can see that, but yeah.
I realised that. Guys, it's been 23 episodes, can I just say? It's been 23 episodes of co-presenting this show, and I think I've just clocked with me that when I pull facial expressions, you can't hear them come through the episode. But just to let you know that I portrayed Sonder, the expression of walking around a city and knowing that everyone's lives are just as intricate as yours. I portray it as kind of basically a bit constipated.
I think for me it would be a bit more like the swivel head emoji, which people are probably familiar with, or indeed the explosion out of brain emoji, which is like, poof, oh my god, maybe.
I've actually got a great idea for Sonder. I think it should be, you know how there's the emoji where you've got hearts in your eyes and stars in your eyes? I think it should be kind of like a nice contented smile with two globes in your eyes. How about that?
That's nice. I like that. Yeah, okay, conceptually that works. But
yeah.
For me, it's not necessarily a happy feeling. It's more of a, oh my god, like all these people. It's a bit of a mindfuck, no?
Okay, so how about we turn that smile upside down?
Well, it's an
Make it
aubergine going into a brain, or
I mean, no. What about the chili going into the brain? So I've recently found out that in the world of phallic emojis, there are in fact two different options. Did you know that?
no.
So one is obviously the aubergine or the eggplant emoji. If
Oh
you're
my god,
across the pond.
he sent me an eggplant.
And by the way, speaking of which, do you think the guy who did the eggplant emoji just took a quick look down and thought
Knew what he was getting into.
That'll do. Yeah, exactly.
Smuggling it past the Unicode guys, just like they'll never guess this.
Yeah. But the chili emoji is apparently also used for euphemistic ends. Yeah, I think it's for people who potentially don't back themselves to be an aubergine person.
Gosh, okay. Well, we won't go into which of those you are, but so
I'm the watermelon. That doesn't even make sense, right?
God.
Onwards.
But yeah, I think we could perhaps submit the Sonder emoji and see what happens. But it's interesting that we just touched upon the almost censorship of emojis and kind of the standards that they apply at Unicode, because what I looked into and realized was that there has actually been some controversy over the years, because initially emojis were in fact apparently quite sexist and weren't very open and tolerant of different cultures, because typically you would have, the builder, the doctor, the business person, and they were all men and they were all white. And you also had this rather strange situation where there are about 5 different ways of saying sushi, but no way to say, I don't know, burrito or roast leg of lamb.
Roast leg of lamb, and of course, the English are the most marginalised in this culturally in the world. So we want our Yorkshire pudding emoji, and we want it now.
Yeah. Well, what about perhaps what would be a more appropriate example?
Perhaps a Peruvian ceviche emoji,
delicious.
Yeah,
or a Kazakhstani
plov.
Yes, yes, or a Georgian khachapuri, delicious. If anyone's had khachapuri.
Mongolian mare's milk.
Well, does that not just look like regular milk, or
no? It's a slightly yellower shade. I'll have you know.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, well, no, we can't knock it. That's perhaps that'll be in next year. Interestingly, actually, another side note is that in, I think it was 2015, the Oxford English Dictionary actually had an emoji as the word of the year.
Indeed.
And it was, of course, laughy cry face emoji, which I think is the most used globally. What does that say about the 21st century, by the way, that the most used article of expression is laughter and crying? It's sort of tragicomic in a way that I think encapsulates the postmodern experience quite well.
Very nice, very nicely put. I would argue it's rather saddening, actually, that it's an emoji that is now coming to be the most frequent kind of outlet of our expression, as written about, may I just seamlessly add, in an article I published to Medium recently. Not to bore you, I don't want to. It's not about me and my writing, guys.
Episode, it's taken you X minutes, but we've got there. You've managed to plug your article on Medium. Lazlo, for anyone who hasn't seen all of his spam on social media, has published an extremely well researched, I have to give it to him, and an extremely interesting, although long, article on Medium.
Well, hang on a second. I'm not gonna just write 200 words on,
But Lazlo has published an article about emojis, and so we should really be deferring to him for the expertise here. But Lazlo, I suppose, why don't you, so that, we're all busy people, we haven't got half an hour to read your bloody article, although I have read it. Why don't you try to summarise some of the key points? Because you actually are rather anti-emoji, you might say.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start off with a kind of big caveat, which is that I don't hate emojis as much as the title "Death to the Emoji" potentially would suggest.
Yeah, that is clickbait right there, isn't it? Really?
It's sensationalist journalism. String me up and call me Barry. I did.
Who's
I
Barry?
chose a very. He's just never mind. Forget Barry.
Okay.
Anyway. My caveat is that I don't actually hate emojis more than other things, more than anything in the world. I do use them myself, and I think they're very useful. In fact, when you want to, lighten the tone of your message, or in a work context when you have to be kind of always positive and friendly, it can be very, very useful to add a bit of colour to your sentence. But I just think and my article talks about what written communication is as a mode of expression, and it's ultimately, I believe, an abstraction of basically real social modes of communication. So conversation being the main tool that humans have used to build relationships. At one point when writing was invented, it was like this massive whoa moment, because suddenly you could actually premeditate what, you would usually say in conversation. You had time to plan what you wanted to write, and also the stakes were much lower because there was both time and space that separated you as the writer from the recipient.
But what was the first? Was that kind of caveman oath 1, write something on wall of cave? Ooh.
No.
To cave woman 2, is that? And then she looked at it later that evening, and he had thought long and hard about saying, "I quite like you," or "I like you."
I mean,
lol. Yeah.
No. I'm talking about when writing actually became more sophisticated, which is around 5,000 years ago. When
papyrus, of course, was it papyrus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the Egyptian hieroglyphs
and
as
the
well.
hieroglyph,
Hieroglyphs, yeah.
What did they wrote sort of owl
pussycat.
Owl pussycat. Yeah. Was that the kind of chat up line, do you think? And then somebody would read that and go, Cleopatra, you saucy sorry.
See you behind the bins.
Yes. See you behind the bins. You bring the plague of locusts, I'll bring the milk and honey. That's really mixing my ancients, actually. Was it the land of milk and honey? That was getting away from the Egyptians, I think. That was, of course, Moses trying to find the promised land.
Split that water.
Yeah. But what's an Egyptian man's name back then? Was Cleopatra Egyptian?
I mean, we can go for Ramses if you want.
Ramses, yes.
Let's
very nice. Tut, actually. King Tut.
Tut.
And so they wrote to each other. And what you're saying is that the gap in time and space between composing something and the recipient reading it meant that people could layer more nuance and things could get lost in translation?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simply, you could say whatever you wanted. I mean, we are often, holding ourselves back when we speak to people live because the social stakes are immediate, basically. But when you write, it allows you, on the one hand, to elevate things that you want to say, and on the other hand, actually just abstract things you want to say.
Yes.
So people often abstract writing for purposes like writing novels. The writer wants to separate themselves from the content of their fiction, and therefore it's very important for them to totally detach themselves from what they're writing about. But the issue is that writing nowadays in this instant text communication, and by the way, instant text communication is, let's say, like the apotheosis. It's like the end point of the
Hang on a minute, we're not going to let you get away with that, mate. Apotheosis. Come on.
Sometimes I just want to be allowed to sound pretentious. Okay, please let this be the one moment in this.
Okay,
I don't want to, don't want to be obsequious or anything.
Oh my god!
I'm joking. That was a joke. Anyway, so the culmination of the development of technology in the 21st century, in the 20th century, has basically been making what writing started off as being, which was this asynchronous mode of communication. So, there was delay between you sending a message and someone else receiving it. And what we've done is basically make that gap smaller and smaller throughout the years. So, that could have been faxes and then suddenly emails and then text communication and now instant messaging. And instant messaging, by and large, seeks to basically imitate real life conversation. That's kind of what it does, because you expect to reply almost instantly from someone. And where emojis come into it for me is this symbol which people are using a lot now to try and get across meaning. But I fundamentally think they're not actually equipped as well as words, which have been crafted over many, many years very carefully to be vessels of meaning. Emojis are, as caricatures and as basically parodies and unrealistic and very exaggerated symbols, they're not actually equipped, I think, to deliver the same level of meaning as words.
And I think that's fair enough. And of course, we do like to get into some of the more philosophical elements at times on Earth Calling. And if I were to maybe give you a bit of a riposte here, presumably though, nowadays, I think you're making quite a grandiloquent and grandiose assumption, which is that...
Is that a little touche moment? I say apotheosis.
Yes, well, I would have used apogee, in fact. But no, I think that you maybe make a slight reach when you assume that because somebody is sending crying face emoji plus heart, that they would have instead put Oh, you are such a wit, my young man. You are just brilliant, and I'm going to now compose a stanza in Shakespearean verse to express my unforeseen and unexpected amazement at your beauty. In reality, people would have just written, "Ha, I like you." So I think there's maybe
absolutely.
there's a little bit of a gap there. And also, what about a picture tells 1,000 words? Sometimes it's very hard for me to actually convey the sideways smirky face, but that's exactly what I mean.
And we all know, and preview, we will go into what our most commonly used emojis are later, but Ed loves his kind of creepy smirky face. God knows what the hell he's thinking.
Well, there you go. But it's actually what's amusing there is you actually found it, and I actually found it quite hard to explain what that is, but you know exactly kind of what I'm getting at when I send it. But I think you're right though. Like One, because I think it is sad in some ways that, as I think your article mentions as well, when you post an Instagram story and somebody needs to react to it, they won't go, "Oh, really enjoyed this." They'll just send like a fire emoji or like a thumbs up, and you'll get the exact same response from multiple people as you point out. But again, I think that part of that is because our attention is in such high demand now that people are constantly being asked for feedback, and so you need to be always responding to your friends and affirming their self-confidence by giving them these responses. And so, we don't have time to craft these kind of word-based, nice responses. We just want to go, "Great, heart, well done, mate. There's your story. There's your affirmation. You're a friend of mine. I'll back you up."
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. I think emoji is actually just one of many symptoms of, this new world of communication, basically. And I mainly wanted to use the article as a way to actually focus on the cases you're talking about, which is when people use one emoji to react to something someone's done. Like, for example, a thumbs up emoji or a cry face emoji when someone says a joke. And when emojis are used in isolation like that, I think that's when we have to be most careful because they simply don't really provide the necessary validation that words do. And I think when used in tandem with words, they are effective. But I think words still, in terms of delivering the voice of the person you're speaking to, are really important because I think everyone's got parents or, older relatives who use emojis really way too much. I mean, my mother just she read my article and has since said, "Oh, darling, I thought it's a fantastic article, and in fact now I've really decided not to use emojis because they're such horrible." And I was
and then did she put a little ironic winky face at the end of it?
Oh yeah, don't even get me started on the amount of ironic emojis I got through after my article. But we've all got the relatives who just blast you 8 cry face emojis after you said something.
For sure.
And it becomes this very strange feeling.
Yeah, I think that touches on a really interesting point though, which is what I would call emojiflation. We actually had chimpflation last time, but now we're talking about emojiflation, and I think that we've entered this. Yeah, it's an arms race for emojis and for kind of overindulged self-expression because you see it in text as well. But for example, if we take the work context, I will send an email to a colleague and I'll want to just say, "Thanks for this," and I want to express the sentiment of "I'm happy with the work," right? But if I just say "thanks for this," no punctuation, no capital letters, it could be like "thanks for this," it could be "thanks for this," or it could be "thanks for this," and you can't convey that with the words. And so I now have to go for "thanks for this!" exclamation mark, but then that's not enough because that could be "thanks for this," but he's being sly and ironic and undercutting. So now I go for "thanks for this!" double exclamation mark, smiley face. And now you see people, as you say, going for multiple cry laughy face because, there's getting this inflation gate. And it's the same thing with kisses actually in messages. One kiss when you're chatting to someone, is that kind of the expected one? Do you need to do
and actually,
two?
this was the original source of text insecurity. I think the how many X's do you leave, and what does it mean when someone left you 2 X's? I always thought 2 X's was a very worrying situation.
Do you think?
I received when I received 2 X's, I was like, well, they haven't quite gone out their way to give me 3, and I really do require 3 kisses to.
The other savage one is when the X's are after a full stop or an exclamation mark, but they've deliberately uncapitalized them. You think,
That is quite.
That's like a
upsetting.
dagger to the heart if that happens.
Yeah, that is true.
But anyway, there's Emojiflation, and we do see it in it, and it is a real thing. And so perhaps there is a world a few years down the line, particularly with the Zoomers, the Gen Zs, who maybe they never end up learning how to read or write, and it's just this kind of dystopian Black Mirror-esque world where everyone just communicates in small circles that are determined by people who submit things to a opaque organization called Unicode. God.
Yeah, around a definition of a word which makes absolutely no sense, and it's about this guy who's just wandering around a city having some kind of existential moment, and the chosen emoji is an aubergine being rammed into someone's brain.
Oh,
yeah.
Christ. Happy Wednesday, everyone. But Lazlo, so one thing I did want to do with you was actually the Buzzfeed quiz, which is entitled "Which Emoji Are You?"
Brilliant.
Love it. From the
is this part of an official segment, or I just wanted to know where I stand on this?
This is not an official segment. This is just Buzzfeed Blinders by Ed. And so let's get started. Right, first question: which sentence sounds most like you? 1, I just want to get my dance on. 2, that's just clownery, love. 3, don't talk to me, I'm reading. And 4, what's good, cutie? Don't even know what that means. What do you think out of those?
Well, I would frankly say all of the above.
Yeah, true.
Let's go for...
I think we know which one you are, mate. Don't talk to me, I'm reading.
That's not me.
You love reading, you dorky dude. Okay, you want to get your dance on? I'll give you the dance. I've done dance.
Yeah, give me the dance. I feel like a dancer today. Yeah.
Okay, how would your friends describe you? Funny, weird, caring, or sensible? Weird, come on.
I've always been a bit weird.
Yeah, a bit of a weirdo. Okay, weird Lazlo. There he is, weird fantastic.
Lazlo wants to go dancing with his book.
Okay, this one's crazy. So your BFF, best friend forever, has failed their science test. WDYD. What do you do? Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you help them study for the next one? Do you buy them an ice cream to make them feel better? Do you tell them a joke to make them feel better? Or you failed your test too, so you commiserate with them?
Oh, legend. D. Any day of the week. Failed, or I'd probably tell them a joke.
Yeah, you tell them a joke. You don't fail tests, you dork. Choose a drink: soda pop, coffee, water, or a glass of red wine.
What the hell is soda pop? I mean, I'll go for the wine, 100%, but soda pop. Yeah.
Choose something to eat: hot dog, cake, pasta, sandwich. quite sort of generic there.
Quite carb heavy.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hot dog, cake, what?
Pasta, sandwich.
Okay, I'll go for pasta.
Right. And lastly, choose a colour: red, green, blue, or yellow.
I mean, honestly, BuzzFeed, what are you going to do with this information?
There's an extremely complex algorithm behind all this.
Blue. I'm a blue boy.
Okay. Oh, this is really annoying. So you've got zany face emoji, which is the sticky outy tongue with one eye much bigger than the other.
No.
You are a fun, silly person. You definitely are the class clown. Generally a fun person to be around, and you like to live on the lighter side of life.
I hate that emoji so much. It's my least favourite emoji.
Yeah, and you know what's really depressing is I got the same bloody one. So
oh, really?
Yeah.
That complex algorithm of BuzzFeed needs an update. Well, Ed, I was actually worried for a second there that you were doing another hostile takeover of everyone's favourite segment, Lazlo's Listicles. And for this segment, we've got a similar concept to previous episodes, where...
That is the idea, by the way, of a segment, is that it's a sort of repeated trope that is similar to previous episodes, but I'm glad that you pointed it out every week.
No, I know, but that you know, as you know, I'm not very good at the consistency on those segments. So what we're going to do is we're going to guess what emojis feature in our top 10 most frequently used on our mobile devices.
Yeah,
on our mobile devices, because
got it.
So I think, although I don't know in what order they appear, I assume it's kind of columns left to right, as in rows left to right. So
your
we'll look at the top 10 there.
Your top leftmost emoji is your most used.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, am I going first? I'll guess you, and then vice versa.
I'd like you to guess me first.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to preface this by saying that Lazlo, of course, hates emojis, and so this is going to be very difficult. That said, okay, well, I reckon you probably have the crying smiley, just because I know that is the most popular emoji in the world. I imagine, do you maybe have the rocket emoji in there from some of your promotion work for your various creative outputs? Maybe you have the musical notes, because you're, of course, pretty artistic, pretty musical. I don't think you'll have any food ones in there.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some, not help, but I think you need to go quite rogue.
Yeah.
You need to go quite rogue.
Because you never use them, or just because you're weird?
Yes, it's precisely because of that none of these are actually, like, it's purely...
Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps
one-off use.
Maybe in that case, one of the weirdest emojis that I've never quite understood, which is man putting two hands overhead into a sort of M from the YMCA dance.
Oh,
if you know what I mean.
yeah, that
exactly.
guy.
The Mo Farah.
What's he doing?
God knows what he's doing. Maybe he's stretching. There's also there's 3 versions of the kind of guy who's putting his head down, looks like on a desk with various diamonds above. I think that means to bow. Maybe you've got that in there. And then finally, protective goggles.
Protective goggles. Yeah, for my trips down to the sodium lab.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so
did I get any of them?
You actually didn't. The closest you got was the rocket emoji, which is my 11th most used emoji.
Okay.
So yeah, the preface is that I barely use emojis on my phone. I do use them on my computer for work. And
how do you do that? How do you emoji on a computer? You have to search for it.
If you got a Mac, it's Control Command Space, and the emoji dictionary comes up.
Nice. Never knew that. Cool. Control Command Space. Learn something every week on Earth Calling. There you go, guys.
Exactly. So I'm going to take you through some of these emojis because they are very, very bizarre, and I have no idea even when I use them. The most annoying thing is that my least favorite emoji happens to be the most frequently used, and I think it's because I often bring it up as an example of what.
Wait, the one that I just said you were?
Yes,
zany I was going to say that, but then damn it.
Yeah, zany emoji is there. The next one is red balloon floating up.
Okay.
For some bizarre reason.
That is weird.
Followed by the skull emoji.
Oh.
But not the skull and crossbones, just the skull.
Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well.
And then, not to bore you, but then a few of the others are just the whale, the kind of sperm whale.
Yeah, weird.
And the flag of Russia.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
And the flamingo, which is standing on one leg.
Oh, I like the flamingo one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm afraid, Ed is usually pretty good at these Lazlo's listicle segments, but this week he has unfortunately failed to earn any points, and therefore the goal is wide open for me. So, look, Ed is a big fan of this really weird one, which we've tried to explain already in this episode. It's kind of the smirk, and if we do publish a video of this segment, you'll see me going kind of like, it's like kind of like,
no, it's more like.
Sorry. I love how there's periods of silence as we do these, but basically the mouth is slightly smiling to the edge, and the eyes are kind of looking
that's
away.
In there. Correct.
Okay. Next up, I think you've definitely got the heart emoji for your family WhatsApp.
By the way, I would say actually that's not technically in the top 10, but it's on my. I'm going to give it to you because it's on my palette of the main ones. Yeah.
Okay. I won't be satisfied without those, so I think heart will be there.
Yeah, that's not there. No. No, I hate the heart emoji. I think it's very vacuous. Yeah, don't use it.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Right, I got it out of my game. I don't want to demean you by saying that I think you've got the cry face emoji, but I do think you've got the cry face emoji. Yeah.
It's there.
Okay, good. I'll take one more guess because the the heart was a bit of a no-go. I think you've got the person smiling with a halo over their head.
No, that's not.
You
there.
Don't have that. Oh,
no.
You strike me as being that kind of.
So I'm surprised that you haven't got a couple of these. So sideways eyes is a classic. Oh, sideways eyes. Yeah. Which I think is I don't really know quite what it means, but it's like, oh, look at that. Ooh. And then I've got the kind of with the thumb and the finger on the mouth.
You love that one. You love that one.
About this. Interesting.
You always send that, yeah. I'll be like, hey Ed, how about we do this for an episode? And he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop being
I've got the thumbs up, obviously, and the OK sign. They're great. And then I've got the freezing cold one, because next week's looking quite chilly and I'm going to try and be outside having pints in the cold. And then we've also got the monkey covering his eyes, because I love that. It's like, oh my god, so embarrassing. Oh.
That's... You know what? I actually... The main mistake I made here was I didn't actually look through the emojis on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. You're missing some classics.
Yeah.
And then one of my favourites, just the final one, which I really love, is the glasses kind of dork, because that's me. Hey.
That's kind of like me. I got glasses and I'm kind of dorky.
Super dorky. Dorky. Yeah, that's my emojis. But I'll give you. I guess you win that one, because you did actually get something.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that is just about all we have time for this week. Thank you, as ever, for tuning in. Please, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, do subscribe, give us a rating and a review. And if you listen on Spotify, please do follow us and give us a download. And slide on over to our Instagram at earth_calling_pod, where you can find additional bonus material. We've actually just started sharing some quite fun videos. So if you want to see a bit of the video action, head on over to our Insta.
Indeed, please do head over to the Instagram, where you will see me usually doing some quite awkward selfie videos introducing the next episode. But next week, please do tune in again, when we will be heading on to the nosiest platform that Earth Calling has ever looked at. Mm-hmm. And that is where communities come to gossip, about taking out the bins and smelly Aunt Marge and the cat that got stuck up the tree. Again. And that is, in fact, the app Nextdoor. So please do join us for that. In the meantime, Earth out.